Apparently, I'm live. It's good to see those of you who have been able to make it here. I am Zoe Smith, founder of the Exodus Collective, and this is probably the first and the last live of 2022. I've already begun to forget what year it is. So I'm hoping that some of you will join me here because this is the first time doing it on my own. I'm hoping that I'm not talking to myself for the full however long that we're on here. And yeah, this is basically a way for me to tell you a little bit more about what I do, to find out what it is that you folks are looking for when it comes to your move abroad. And really, it's a chance for us to connect because well, it's not every week, but regularly, I do my little talks about what it's like in Grenada, interviewing folks who've made moves to other destinations around the world. But we rarely have a chance to connect, just you and me, aside from the comments. And those of you who do post in the comments, thank you very, very much because really, I think that's kind of where it all happens. Like, yes, I might start a conversation, but you take it and run with it. And one of the things that I would love for us to discuss in this session today, and for you to send me your comments, send me your questions, let me know what it is that I can help with. But I really would love to know. In fact, I've written down the question of the day. What's the most important factor you consider when choosing a destination abroad? So what's the number one thing that matters to you? So, the globe is very big, is very large. And I remember I would skim through it trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to move? But one of the things that I've noticed in helping folks actually, hi Sonia, I have my first comment. How exciting. Hi Sonia. Thank you so much for joining me. But one of the things that I have noticed when it comes to people making that decision to move abroad, and just going at it full steam ahead is really understanding why, and understanding what is most important to you really can make a huge difference. But I would love to know, what is it for you? In fact, should I write it down? I think I can write it down. Forgive the technical parts on this. I'm a little bit slow when it comes to streaming. I'll write it down. I'm going to put in the comments. Let me know the most important factor you consider when choosing an overseas destination. Destination. I think I spelled that right. If I haven't, let me know in the comments. But there you go. I've put it there. Can I pin it? No, I can't. I can just put myself in timeout. But yeah, let's make this one interactive. This is not just me walking around my yard talking into a camera. This is not just me on Zoom chatting to someone in one of the islands in the region. This is us together chatting. And there's now 10 of us, which is about 10 times more than I was expecting. So thank you to all of you. But yeah, let's chat. Let's connect with each other. Let's find out what are our priorities, because yeah, all of us have different reasons for moving. All of us have different things that make us tick and make us get to a place and think, oh, yes, this is it. This is my home. I can see this working. So I would love to know. I will tell you mine. I think I can tell you mine. But let's see what Sonia says. Sonia says, my number one was going to a Black country. I can understand. Sonia, tell me why. Why was that a priority for you? Why did that matter? Why did you want to go to a Black country, and where were you coming from? And Jenny, we have 2 people in the comments. Whoop, whoop. Shout out to Jenny and to Sonia. Thank you for making this happen. Jenny, do you want to jump in on our question of the day? Our question is, what is the most important factor you consider when choosing an overseas destination? Sonia has said going to a Black country, and I would like to know from Sonia why. Why was that important to you? Because it's not everyone is motivated by that. I am a member of a site on Facebook called Black Expats. No, what's it called? Blacksit. Something Blacksit for Black Americans abroad. And obviously I'm not American, but they don't know until I mention London. And there's this real divide between people who want to go to predominantly Black countries and others who are like, why limit yourself? Why only choose to go to a Black country? And as someone who has lived overseas in places that aren't predominantly Black, at that time I would have felt it limiting to only want to go to um, a country where people look like me. But now that I'm here, now that I am enjoying it, I really couldn't imagine doing anything else. I really couldn't. Is that bad of me? Let me know if you think that's bad. But I don't think it's bad. Um, I feel like I've done my time in different settings and I've gained from it. I've loved it. I've had amazing experiences. But for where I am in my life now, I'm looking for something different. Sonia is explaining her answer. She says, "Well, I'm in the United States and the racism is off the chain. I needed peace of mind." Yeah, peace of mind is absolutely priceless, I think. And there's many things that can bring peace of mind to different people. But I definitely know that for folks who are parents, that can make a big difference. Just knowing that your children are going to be safe, knowing that your children aren't going to be facing horrors in the classroom, like stuff like that really can, yeah. It can make a big difference. It can make a big difference. What else does Sonia say? "I find the energy to be very healing, which is what I need." So, Sonia, I noticed that you said I needed peace of mind, which is past tense. So, where are you now? Where are you now, Sonia? Where have you found healing energy? I would love to know, because I think I've got that in Grenada. And is anyone else looking for that? Is anyone else looking for peace, healing, a predominantly Black country? And no shade if you're not. This is a safe space. We're all here to share and learn from each other. But we've got some other things. We've got Sophie. Sophie says safety and cost of living. And Sophie, do you know what? In fact, before I chime in, Sophie, do you have your short list of places that have those two elements? I would love to know. Let me know in the comments. Because for me, traveling as a single mother with 3 kids, safety, absolutely. Like, yeah, I definitely needed somewhere that felt safer than London. I definitely needed somewhere where, my son could walk off to school and me not worry about him coming back home. And cost of living, it matters. It really does matter. To me, I would love to know, is there anyone for whom cost of living is not a factor? Who can just be like, yeah, I want to go here, I want to go there without worrying about what it's going to cost, because I would like to be your friend. I would like to cross cost of living off my list. And as we go along, I will tell you about a couple of other destinations that I would have chosen if I didn't have somewhere to stay for virtually free in Grenada, because Grenada is not cheap. I know I bang on about this every single week, but it really is not cheap. And there are so many other places where you can just have that financial stress like massively reduced, significantly reduced. Gosh, there's comments. This is so exciting, folks. Sorry, I didn't know what to expect. So I love that you're all chiming it in and yeah, you get to know each other's names, and hopefully we can do this again and we'll know each other and know each other's stories. But going back to Sonia, Sonia says, "I'm still in the US, but going back and forth until I permanently transition." It's something that has been very helpful. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Sonia. Sonia might not want to tell us exactly where she is, which is totally fine. Not everyone should put their business out on YouTube like I do. So I totally respect that. But I love the fact that you have found somewhere where you find, your happy place. Sophie. So Sophie was saying safety, cost of living. And on her shortlist are Barbados, Jamaica, and Martinique. That is a cool list, and quite a diverse list as well. Tell us more, Sophie. What is it that appeals to you about those 3 places? For me, for sure, Jamaica would have been on my list. If I knew more people that I was tight with, I would have considered me. If I didn't have kids, definitely. If I did not have kids, for sure, Jamaica I would be spending like at least 18 months, 6 months a year in Jamaica, because it's really appealing. But let me know more. Jenny says making a living. Making a living is, yeah, it's pretty huge. It's pretty huge. So let me go through some others. Blessed Green Chick is in Jamaica. Shout out to all the Jamaicans. Yes, I wish I was with you there. Willie, to my comment about wanting to be somewhere Black, he says, no, it's not a bad. Oh, do you know what? I've just realized I'm not actually showing your comments. You'll have to forgive me. Let me do this now. There we go. Zoe's finally figured out that technology. Apologies, folks. At least I was reading them and not assuming that you could actually see what was being said. Willie responded to my question about whether or not it is silly of me or myopic of me to want to be in a predominantly Black country. This is what he says: we need to travel abroad and live elsewhere. Yeah, I think for some of us, not for all of us, but for some of us, the time does come where, yeah, it's time to find that joy, that peace of mind somewhere else, to have got what you can from being wherever you are and to move. Um, Jenny also says, Jenny says this: going to a country where Black people are not targeted. Yeah. And that, alongside making a living, is a priority. Apologies if you can hear like a car in the background. That's my kids leaving the house, because if they were here, it would be a disaster. But I'm loving these, yeah, these conversation starters. So for Jenny, it was either, show you this, the Caribbean or Africa. Yeah, I think those are two regions that are attracting many people. Asia sometimes pops up on the list. There seems to be like a really thriving community in Thailand, Bali, Mexico. For all the Americans in the house, Mexico seems like the go-to destination. Is anyone considering Mexico? I haven't covered anyone in Mexico, even though in some ways it could fall under the Caribbean, but it just seems so well covered. There seems to be so many Americans moving there that I feel like, is there anything else that I can add to the conversation? If you feel that there is, let me know in the comments. But I kind of feel Mexico can be in its own little zone on the side. This from Blessed Green Chick. Yes, when we went back home to Jamaica last month to bury my grandmother, while there, I felt like I was in heaven. The serenity of the countryside, living for those 2 weeks, was everything to me. Yeah, that serenity, that peace of mind is awesome. And more from Blessed Green Chick. 20 years. Yeah, 20 years is a long time. 20 years is enough to get in, get out, and, get what you need and then move on to the next thing. But it can be hard. It can be really, really tricky. It's really easy to just feel totally attached to where you're from and, yeah, not certain about moving. Can you let me know in the comments if you can see what is popping up? I have a feeling that you can't. So let me just click through and let you know what's going on. I'm seeing some of you responding to other comments. But let me just, someone shout out to me what you can see and what you can't. Okay, so discovering connections to Barbados. I like that. And yes, Sonia's shouting out Blessed Green Chick for moving back. I don't know if any of you spotted a post that I shared in the community section. It was from Know Your Caribbean, which is one of the most awesome platforms out there. And she was talking about that sort of thing where people say, why don't you just go back to where you come from, as if that's an insult, while not understanding that actually where we come from is in many ways brilliant, beautiful, nurturing, healing. And still the challenges that it comes to navigating the fact that, yes, it is amazing, but what is it like to earn there? What is it like to get the healthcare that you need? What is it like to be understood by like-minded peoples? That gap between I want to be there and understanding that actually it's a process that needs to be navigated is really, really real. And I think that's a conversation that's been cropping up quite a lot in the folks that I've been speaking with on the channel. And also off camera, the conversations that I've been having with folks who are out there already. So it is a real thing. And this, Sonia, is, you guys are responding. But yeah, it's nice when partners work together. The hardest thing is when one partner is like, no, I'm happy where I am. And the other's like, no, I need to move. How do you negotiate that? Any tips from anyone who has negotiated it or is struggling to negotiate it? I know that we, with my kids' dad, we had very different ideas as to where we wanted to live and completely different priorities. And going back to our question of the day, what's the most important factor you consider when choosing a destination abroad? If you have two completely different important factors, how do you marry them together? It can be really, really challenging. Some more from Sophie. Sophie saying she wants to be warm year round. Yes. Do you know what? It's December. I'm wearing a vest. I've got my door open because I need breeze. This is why you can see my blinds flying around. And I'm going back to London next week, and I am, yeah, dreading it is not even the word. People showing me pictures of snow. It's -5. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, can't be doing that. Sonia as well, adding some more. Panama. Yes, Panama is a destination that I have had quite a few people talking about. Why Panama? Why is Panama good, Willie? Is that where you are? What is it that you love about Panama? What are some of the pros and cons of Panama? I would love to know. Sophie is talking about some other destinations: Thailand, Mexico, and Dominican Republic. Yeah, thinking about where your money would go the furthest. Okay, so that's one. Okay, so let me find out a bit more. So yes, money is a factor, but in terms of like the ideal lifestyle that you want, the sort of people that you want to be around, the activities that you want to be engaged with, the sort of services that you want to be able to access. How do Thailand and Mexico compare, Sophie? So I understand that you've got the shortlist based on cost of living, which is essential. It's essential. But how are you going to be able to choose between the two? And what's your process? In fact, let me throw it out even more widely. What is your process for figuring out where you are going to go to? I would love to know. I've got someone, Blessed Green Chick, commenting on the post from Know Your Caribbean. Yeah. I just think there's so many different ways of being. And I'm not throwing any shade on those who choose to stay. Like, there are many things that are great about the UK, the US, Canada, France, all the colonizing countries. There are many things that are awesome, and I'm not knocking that. Like, the options that I have now, many of them I wouldn't have if I hadn't been raised in a country of colonizers with access to all the wealth, the educational institutions, everything. So I'm not knocking that at all. But for some of us, there's more. You can get that and then build upon it, perhaps. Who knows? But I'm just throwing that out there. I love this little conversation going on between Sophie and Sonia. Okay. Yes, and this is the thing. There isn't a right way or a wrong way to move. Some people say you must burn all your bridges, and other people say, no, you must keep everything open. Like, essentially, you do what works for you. But taking the time to understand what it is that works for you is really, really important. And I think this throwing around ideas, throwing around answers, this is what today's chat is kind of about, is what does doing right by you look like? Because doing right by you is going to be very different from what doing right by me looks like. And I know this year at certain points, folks have reached out to me saying, can you do a day in the life of your day in Grenada? Or can you tell us what your monthly budget looks like? Or what is it that brings you happiness? Why are you not happy with X and Y? But do you know what? So few of you are going to be single mums of 3, self-employed single mums of 3. Like, the nuttiness of my life is off the charts. So me setting up my daily life or my budget or my stresses and challenges, it probably has absolutely no relation at all to anything that you're going to encounter, which is why I like to call this a collective, to share other people's stories, but also, like, the most fundamental thing when it comes to conscious relocation, and not just any relocation, but conscious relocation, is really taking the time to understand what it looks like to do you. Because anyone who sells you like relocation by numbers, like you do this, you do that, you do that, like, why do you do it that way? Because if that route doesn't get you to where you want to be, it's kind of not really going to work. And trust me, as someone who has moved abroad and then come back, if you're in your 20s, it's not the end of the world. But if you're in your 40s and you've sold everything and you feel like you're moving on to something else and it turns out that you're not, that can be a little tricky. Not impossible, not the end of the world. But yeah, it can be avoided by taking the time to have these sorts of conversations. But listen, I'm doing a lot of talking. If there are questions that you want to shoot to me, shoot away, because I would love to answer your questions. I do have a tendency to ramble and just to go off on tangents. So pull me back in with questions if you have any for me, or questions for each other. And I'll try and do a better job of posting these comments. Yeah, that's the thing, testing them out, seeing what's on your shortlist, seeing what's on your shortlist on paper, and then seeing what stays on your shortlist after you've actually been there, is something that's really, really important. Sophie's talking about snowstorm. Yeah, that's the reality of life. Sonia says it's cold in Maryland as well. And look, there's a lot of love for Barbados happening. Sophie says Barbados. So Sophie and Sonia, I can feel a little like buddy thing happening here. You two need to find a way to be in touch. And in fact, that's one of the things that I'm working on for next year, is like, how do we take the Exodus Collective off of YouTube and like videos and actually get people together? Because I think accountability, finding like-minded people, just being able to share stories and resources and support is so important. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I will be in touch with you about that, because I wish I had it when I was moving. Yeah. That's a whole long story, which I don't necessarily need to go in here. But yeah, having your crew, having your team when you want to move makes a massive difference. Sophie here talking, wow. Sophie, you really been checking it out. Nigeria, Bahamas, Barbados, Mexico, London, and France. Yeah. So narrowing down what you actually want by being there is really, really smart. From Jenny. Okay. What's that? Is that about the couples, Jenny? Sometimes when one person moves, the other one will eventually move because the other is having so much fun. Is that couples where one person says, I'll go first, and then the other one follows? That's a good technique. I've never thought of doing that. Yeah, that's the thing. 2022 really knocked many people's plans out of shape. And for many people, I think it also brought plans forward. And I would probably say for more people, it brought plans forward. In fact, let me know in the comments, did the events of 2020 push back your relocation plans or make it feel more pressing to me? Because I think something about like the precariousness of life, of just everything being thrown upside down in the space of a few weeks, really made many folks realize that like life is really short. And if it's short, what am I going to do with my time? I remember, I probably said it in a video, but I remember at one point, just after lockdown had been announced, my kids were slightly stressed and they were young. Like my youngest was maybe 3 years old. And they were like jumping around, like trying to entertain themselves, probably somewhere around 7 o'clock in the morning. And my neighbor started banging, like hammering on the door. And me, being super stressed, started banging and hammering right back. And I was like, mate, is this really how I want things to go down? Do I really want to be stuck in a house, on a road, in a town, in a country where people don't have my back, where the response to kids like playing is going to be hammering on the walls? I knew I didn't want to be in England anyway, but that particular moment made me exceptionally focused on being somewhere else. It was like, you know, the game musical chairs, and then the music stops, and then you look around and you're like, nah, this absolutely is not it. If anyone else had that experience of, 2020 just being the like, absolutely time to move, let me know. I'd love to know. Shout out to the Grenada Appreciation Society in the house. Rudy. Rudy moved to Grenada. I've got to read this. Okay. A point for Grenada. Rudy moved to Grenada a year ago and absolutely loves it. Visited Panama for 3 months. And while it's a beautiful place, colorism is a major problem there. I think this is stuff that's good to know, right? Because if you're searching in the wrong places, a lot of folks aren't going to care about colorism if they're not affected by it. By being like-minded folks, like whatever kinfolk, we can share this stuff because it matters. Because me as a dark-skinned Black woman, I don't really know. It's just that's kind of not necessary for me. But then again, for someone else, they might not be bothered. They might be like, listen, my money goes so far. There's amazing art galleries. There's a cultural scene. The food is delicious. So all of us have differences. But Rudy, why did you move to Grenada? What do you love about Grenada? Tell us more about Grenada, because I'm always Team Grenada, even though sometimes I complain about a few things that aren't quite to my liking, but I'll get over that. But tell us more. What works about Grenada for you? And do you know what? How long have I gone? Almost half an hour without banging on about Grenada. So I feel like I deserve a star for like making sure that everywhere else is represented, because I do know that for the past few weeks on YouTube, it has been somewhat of a Grenada focus, but don't worry, I will be going to other destinations soon. So hang on in there, it is coming. Okay, so let me throw some love to some other islands. Barbados. The beach, the fruit, and the weather. Sonia, what fruits do you like in Barbados? Because I have to say that I am the fruit situation in Grenada outside of mangoes and mango season is yeah, it's kind of testing. I don't like bananas, you see. If I like bananas, I'd be in heaven. But yeah, I need more than mangoes for 3 months of the year. But tell us about Barbados? What are some of your favorite fruits in Barbados? Some more from Jenny. I believe that people should try to leave the Western world before they get ill. The food is not healthy and the drugs keep you sick. The food in the Caribbean is healthy and you can live healthy. Yes, it can be. But Jenny, I have to be honest. Should I be honest? I'm going to be honest. Sorry, folks. I can't um, I if you watched my early videos from like when I was in lockdown, essentially, when I couldn't leave my house and I was talking to people like, all over the Caribbean, I was like, yeah, the food, the coconut water, yeah, this, that, this, that. The reality of being here, and I said it in an interview that I did with a podcast a few weeks ago, is that as a vegetarian, a semi-vegetarian, it's really hard to find like fresh fruit and veg. And I'm not talking about provision. I'm not talking about dasheen, yam, sweet potato, blogger, plantain, and every other variation of banana you can get. But fresh green vegetables like kale, green beans, celery, avocados year round, beetroots, carrots. Sorry, I'm hyperventilating somewhat thinking about the fruits and veg that I wish I could have. The reality, at least here in Grenada, is somewhat different. And I know my friend in St. Lucia says the same thing, and my friend in St. Kitts says the same thing. Nevis apparently is different, and apparently it's different in Jamaica. But anyone else who has struggled with the fresh veg issue, I would love to know, because that's a thing. Sophie. Okay. Ghana. Ghana is a really popular destination. And you know what? I recently heard, actually, I heard this summer that Accra is one of the most costly cities to live in terms of cost of living relative to income. And I wonder if that is because of so many folks moving and pushing up the prices, because it is essentially like the go-to destination in West Africa for Black folks, folks from the diaspora. I would say, I know Tanzania is up there. What's the other one? Gambia is also there. Some folks move to South Africa, but Ghana does. I mean, the year of return was such awesome marketing that it really put the destination on people's radar. And, you know, there's a lot to back it up in terms of entrepreneurship. Ghana seems like an amazing place. And I've done interviews with a couple of women, in fact, one of whom is my cousin who moved there. And it just seems like great in terms of potential. But yeah, it'll be interesting to know anyone else who can tell me about the cost of living in Ghana and whether that has been a factor. Let me scroll through the comments. Okay, I just got to share this, the love going on between Sonia and Sophie. Their names both mean the same thing. So there you go. They're connected for the right reasons. Let's talk a little bit about community. Yeah, communities are very helpful. So if you've got pen and paper ready, I would suggest a couple of sites that you might want to engage with if you want to connect with other like-minded folks who are moving or who have moved and will be able to kind of point you in the right direction. The first, and I'll say it again, is the Blagsits. I've just realized I've missed something. Is the Blagsit Facebook group. Let me see if I can find it for you. I can tell you the exact name. Okay, it's called Blacksit Tribe. Black Americans who want to. Oh gosh, it's so long. I don't even know the full title, but if you type in Blacksit Tribe Black Americans on Facebook, you will find a Facebook group of over 20,000 people all looking to move abroad, either looking to move abroad or they have moved abroad. And the amount of gems of wisdom that I've gained there has been awesome. The connections that I've made there have been fantastic. Some of the people that I've featured on the site, I've connected with. Some of the people I've featured on YouTube, I found on that channel, and folks are just generally really generous with their help. And pretty much any destination that you want to go to, you will find someone who has who's been there, who's living there, who can probably help you out if you want to find somewhere to live that's not being sold at the tourist rate. That, you know, just that inside information is completely invaluable. So I would highly recommend joining that one. And then the other one is, if I can find it, is actually an app. It's called the Expat app. In fact, I'm going to write it here. Expat app. If you go to whatever Apple uses, Apple iStore, Apple Store, I'm Android, or the Android store, whatever store you use for your apps. If you type in Expat app, you will find that. And that's an app that kind of works a little bit like a forum. That has over 10,000 folks looking to move abroad. You can post your information or request help by destination, by region, etc. I am on the Caribbean. There's not many people looking to move to the Caribbean on this app. So if you are, please join this app because it's run by a fantastic Black woman called Shah Winter. She actually lived in Portugal, but she also has Jamaican heritage. And it's really, really useful to, just connect with people, share questions. I think I recently posted something similar discussion to what we're having here, asking folks, what is it that's truly holding you back from making your move abroad? And I'm going to go through some of the answers. Someone said fear. How many of you find that fear is holding you back from making a move abroad? I like that answer. It's a very honest answer because it cuts through a lot of the kind of surface level stuff. You might think it's not finding the house that's absolutely perfect, or you might think that it's not, finding the right sort of yoga teacher. But if you look beneath it, fear, it held me back. It took me 10 years to move. It took me 10 years to move to an island that my entire family came from for like generations and generations and generations. So, I think it's really honest and really important to say, like, yeah, sometimes I'm a bit scared. Sometimes I'm a bit worried. And I think at least if you state it, then you own it and you can start deconstructing it. This person here says that it's also linked to their job. Someone else says, and uncertainty on where to go and finding my you happy place, that thing of like wanting a place that just feels like, this is it, like a nice pair of slippers or a warm, just something that fits, the perfect pair of shoes. And yeah, that is a real thing. But again, how do you break down what that looks like? Because it's really easy to go to, it can happen that you go to a place and you're like, no, it's not it. It's not quite right. And then you can go to the next place and be like, yeah, almost, but not quite like that, kind of like a Goldilocks thing. But one of the things that I've advised people here and that I advise people in generally is map out what it is that you want. What does your ideal destination look like? What does your ideal lifestyle look like? What does your ideal income look like? What does your ideal housing situation look like? What does your ideal day look like? Um, for me, that's one of the things that I did when it came to narrowing down exactly where I wanted to live in Grenada. There was this really lovely house I was looking at, and I like mapped down my perfect day. And then I was like, oh no, I'll be spending like at least an hour and a half driving. Like, that's not good. I'm not moving to Grenada to be stuck in traffic. So that was crossed off the list. If I just gone with my feeling and what was in my head, I would have been, I mean, I probably would have adapted to it, but I was able to I was planning to zig, and I ended up zagging. And yeah, that just, if you're going to move, try and make it as good as possible. It's never going to be perfect. I think everything that I kind of say to folks, say it's not about perfection. And you're constantly iterating that kind of build, measure, learn. Something that is a business analogy can really be applied to relocating. So the idea that everything is going to be perfect, chuck that out the window. But at least you can try and structure something that's close to the ideal and know how you're going to be able to tweak it if it's not exactly that. I've forgotten what I started talking about. So I'm going to go back to Sophia's answer that came like ages ago, answering me about fruits. What are dunks? I know golden apples. I've got a whole load of them in my bowl waiting to make into juice. Sea grapes. Yeah, I know. See, yeah, I can nibble on a sea grape, but I can't do much more than that. And what are dunks? I don't know what dunks. Is that a Jamaican? I mean, Bajan thing. I want to know what dunks are. Sonia also says that fruit is abundant in Jamaica. That's really, really nice. Um, do you know what? I'm going to make a confession. This is the realities of my life, right? Okay, so I've scheduled this YouTube live. I'm talking to you, and I'm now realizing that my child is supposed to be at a play date. I'm here in front of you guys. How am I going to take him to a play date? This is, yeah, the realities of not so glamorous life in the Caribbean. Again, perfection does not exist, especially when it comes from me. But some of you who are parents might empathize with poor planning on my part. So I'm going to put up the answer from Rudy about Grenada, and I'm just going to quickly send a message to this mum explaining that I've messed up. Um, Bear with me 1 second. This is really bad. Apologies, guys, and apologies to this mum. This is so bad. I can still see 26 of you there. Thank you so much for your patience. This is crazy. I'm in a YouTube live. That's not an excuse for not turning up at a play date. This is really bad. I'm actually like sweating with embarrassment. So this is really bad. Okay. Let's get back to the program, folks. Okay, so Rudy says, I spent time in Barbados, St. Lucia, Antigua, St. Kitts, and Dominica as well. Grenada has the perfect balance of everything for me. Oh, that's really nice. That's really nice. Yeah, St. Lucia. St. Lucia seems, often when people say, I want to move to the Caribbean, and they've never been to the Caribbean and they just have a concept of what the Caribbean is like, I recommend St. Lucia over Grenada, because I would say Grenada is somewhat of an acquired taste. It's beautiful. I can see it having some of the nature of Dominica. The people are friendly, it's safe, but it's quite low. It can be quite low key. If you want malls, if you want lots of entertainment, if you want lots of options in terms of like international dining, etc., Grenada is yet to peak, and maybe it will never peak. And for some people, that can be quite like it can make it feel quite claustrophobic in terms of that the lack of options. But St. Lucia seems to be a little bit more cosmopolitan without being as cosmopolitan as say Barbados, or as touristy as Barbados. But yeah, for those who are kind of able to chill and just be, I think Grenada is kind of perfect. It is kind of perfect. Okay, some more from Rudy. Okay, really, what do you buy at the market? I've got to get off this vegetable obsession because no one cares about it apart from me. But yeah, what do you buy in the the fruits and veg section, and where do you get it from? Maybe I need a different supplier. Jenny has a really important point. Yes, yeah, you can grow your own. Um, Yeah, you can go to the country too, but I think growing your own really, it really makes no sense complaining as much as I do about the food situation, um, because yeah, there's sun all year round, rain. Okay, rain all year round, and you can grow your own. Sean says, "Thank you, Sean." Someone answered, We can see the comments you post on screen." So yes, that's what I wasn't doing at the beginning, and I am doing now. But yeah, if you've got questions, find me some questions because I'm slightly worried that I'm talking too much. I'm not answering anything that you might want to know. Rudy also compares. Ah, yeah, see, this is what I was saying. Thank you, Rudy, for confirming that. Again, I haven't shown it on screen. Rudy says he's visited Ghana, but the cost of living there is prohibitive. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. And do you know what? Early in the year, I did a video on Are expats ruining the Caribbean? And I'm no longer using the word expats, I'm using foreigners because we're all foreigners ultimately. I think that's a much more neutral word to use. And yeah, I am aware that kind of by talking about relocating, by talking more about Grenada, there is a destination that's not on many people's radars. It is raising it somewhat, but I'm like, at the same time, I'm like one woman with like what 7,000 people following me on YouTube. I don't think that is really going to like shift the demographics of the nation, but Ghana, Puerto Rico, Belize, lots of these countries that are appealing because they are cheap are now having to deal with the flip side of having lots of people moving, house prices being pushed up, services being pushed to the max. And that is a reality that I'm still figuring out how to navigate because I think for many of us as Black folks, we know what it's like to live in areas that are gentrified. So, how do we then avoid enacting that same damage on the places that we move to? And again, on this site, on the Facebook site, I've seen discussions like that happen, and people are very dismissive of that. It's not our problem kind of thing. And I would say I try to be neutral, but I think that's a little bit irresponsible, especially for me being in Grenada. I don't think I can say what happens in Grenada is not my problem because on an island of 100,000 people, it's really easy for changes to be felt and seen. And also, one of the things I'm noticing is that you can't really hide. Before in England, I could kind of say anything and no one would really know or care. Whereas in Grenada, it's really easy to be spotted. So I could say something really awful or amazing and someone has something to say about it. The person behind me in the queue at the supermarket is like, "So, you in this YouTube video?" Or, "Are we going to pick up my kid from school?" And someone else will, have something to say. So if there was ever a call for being responsible in a small destination, I'm experiencing it now. And I think those of you who are moving, like if you know why you're moving, you know what's attracting you about that destination. So what part can you play to making sure that it stays as beautiful and attractive and healing, as nurturing as it currently is now? I do think we all have a part to play. I don't think it's down to government, But again, this is me ranting, so someone pull us back and ask me a question. Someone else says, yeah, interesting. People are leaving Ghana. I didn't realize. Okay, so this tells you how out of touch I am. It's been a couple of years since I was really onto the whole Ghana thing. So, yeah. Someone else sharing. Am I really behind on the comments? Okay. Main issues are selling my home, downsizing, and getting rid of stuff and legal issues. Okay, I have citizenship in Barbados and America. Yes, some places only allow you to stay for 3 to 6 months, maybe a year. Yeah, so again, that is I think for me, I would say starting with what do you want from your move, then looking at the costs, and then using how easy is it to stay or not as the thing that helps you to decide. In Grenada, you can stay for 3 months on a tourist visa as long as you don't work here. In St. Lucia, it is 6 weeks. That is one of the shortest stays that you can have on a tourist visa in the Caribbean. Other islands will allow you up to 6 months, but those factors are significant. In Grenada, it is possible to extend a tourist visa. You pay 75 EC per month to extend. And there was talk of Grenada having a digital nomad visa, those things that allow people to work remotely without any sort of issues about being able to come and go. But it doesn't actually exist. I'm going to go on the record and say Grenada's digital nomad visa does not exist, despite what you may have read in the press, despite what you may have read in social media, and despite what you may have heard me hint at in the past. It doesn't exist. I've been to the ministry, I've been to the botanic, I've been to the immigration department, I've been to the tourism department. No one knew what I was talking about. I even spotted a sample form on a new government website, and I was like, "Oh, minister, this is great. Is it actually launching now?" And they're like, "Oh no, sorry, we don't know where that's there," which is yeah, interesting. The realities of navigating stuff in the Caribbean. But don't let the lack of a digital nomad visa deter you from coming to Grenada. As I say, there are ways that you can extend a tourist visa if you want to kind of do a trial run of living here, well, kind of workationing. As long as you are not working here, you're not allowed to work. There's also the option of obtaining residency after 2 years and then applying for permanent residency and citizenship after that. So a lot of people kind of talk about citizenship by investment, which can be anywhere upwards of 150,000 US. And I come across many people, like many of the consultations I do, folks are talking to me about, yeah, I want to put my 200K into the CBI scheme, but that's not always necessary. And there are also ways where you can gain residency by investment. So if you want to set up a business in one of these destinations in the Caribbean, that is also an option. I can't speak for certain of other destinations because I haven't done the research, but for Grenada specifically and the Caribbean in general, I know that option is there and something that is quite encouraged by government investment agencies. And that is one of the things that I'm working on for next year, which I'm really excited to tell you about, but it's not quite there yet. Let me scroll down through. This is from Jenny. Most people are ready to move. It's others that drive their own fears into those who want to move. Yeah, I would say that is not a lie. I would say that, yeah, I've experienced that myself. And there comes a point where you know what you want and you really just have to turn the blinkers on. But yeah, that can be easier said than done. That can be easier said than done. No, thank you. Blessed Green Chick saying, don't worry, don't stress. Yeah, this is so bad. This is really bad. It's bad that it happened, and it's even worse that it happened on camera. Officially a really bad mother. Okay, so what else have we got? So many comments. Sean, is this, I want to say, is this my Sean? Is this Sean from our weekly sessions? I hope it is, Sean, because I haven't heard from you in so long, and I want to know where you are and if you are making it over to the Spice Isle. Oh, there we go. We've got a question. Sean, let me know if it's you. And I've got a question on the cost of living in Grenada from Lee. How would you characterize the cost of living in Grenada? It really does vary, Lee. I would say that if you are willing to have a very different standard of living to that which you're used to, I'm assuming you're used to, assumptions are a bad thing, but assuming you're used to it in your country of origin, if you are willing to downsize the sort of accommodation that you're living in and perhaps standard of accommodation. If you're willing to be outside of the big cities, so probably on the edges of St. George's, moving into parishes like St. John's, St. Andrews, even St. Mark's, St. George's, so St. Patrick's, heading up to the northern parts of the island. Definitely in terms of accommodation, you can find a lot that is a lot more affordable. If you are willing to eat what you grow or eat what your neighbors grow, so provisions and local fruits, then you can definitely live more cheaply than you can in the UK. So one example, okay, so my gas bill, I want to scroll down and hear what you say about the answers, but how much do you think my gas bill for the entire year was this year? How much did I spend on gas in 2022? I want you to let me know in the comments, and I'm just scrolling down and seeing what you think. My gas bill, so it's me and 3 children in a 4-bedroom house. How much do you think we spent on gas? I will give a prize. Would I give a prize? I'll try and give a prize for the answer. But while you let me know what you think, I will return to Lee. My gas bill was really low. I'll let you know what my gas bill was. My electricity bill, I mean, a lot of people complain about how high the electricity bill is in Grenada, but I don't think it's that high. I mean, it's not higher than in the UK, definitely not higher than in the UK. My gas bill and my electricity bill will be between 100, around like 100, 150 pounds a month. I don't know what that is in the US, probably exactly the same with the way the pound is plummeting at the moment. But yeah, I hope that gives you an idea. For me, eating out is more expensive, I would say. More expensive in the sense that if I was purchasing the same plate of food as I'm purchasing in London as in Grenada, I would pay less for it in London. If you have kids, education is definitely, private education is definitely like miles cheaper here than it is in the UK and US and North America. But accommodation here is expensive if you are in St. George's. Like, it's expensive. I want to be able to say that it's not, but it is. And I think generally you don't really get very good value for money. That's just me being honest. There are ways around it. So to come here and to find people who will show you what they have, whether it's going to be to the standard that you want, that is to be seen. But accommodation in St. George's is expensive and overpriced. I will go on the record as saying, and anyone who doesn't like it, show me I'm wrong. I don't think you can. What else? Transport is expensive. So if you want to import a car or buy a car, that will be miles more than you're paying in the UK or the US. The tax on that is very high. The import costs are very high. So cost of transportation is expensive. If you want to travel by bus, that's cheaper than in the UK or the US. What else? What else have I missed? Buying clothes, like I can't think of any reason why you would buy clothes here. The standard of the quality of clothing is really poor. There's one shop. I'm not gonna name which shop it is. But there's a shop that sells kids' clothes, and the kids' clothes are imported from Shein, whatever that Chinese store is. So you go to buy a fancy dress thinking, oh, it's really nice, and then you buy it and you pay like the same that you would pay for like a decent dress in the UK, and you look at the label, and it's from Shein, however you say it. And I think that tells you everything that you need to know about clothing. It's people kind of taking advantage of the fact that stuff isn't manufactured here. And just bringing in what they can and putting like a massive markup on it. So clothing, homeware, I would say bring what you can from overseas. For furniture, I perhaps get it manufactured here. There are some good tradesmen, craftsmen. But yeah, I've rambled somewhat, Lee. If there are specifics on the cost of living that I haven't answered, let me know. I'm going to scroll down and see if anyone has guessed how much. If anyone has guessed how much I've spent on gas. Okay. Sophie says 600 US dollars. Lee says £1,000. Merv says 420. Um, Tasha says 400 US dollars. Merv says 420 EC. Um, Clover says 350 US. I spent, maybe I'm outing myself as like a bad cook, but I spent 80 EC. 80 EC. Let me tell you what 80 EC is in pounds. 80 XCD. XCD. That's £30. £30 on gas for the entire year. Oh, I put 40. No, it's not 30. 40 is £30. 2 bottles of gas. Because the only thing that needs gas here is my cooker. Yeah. My okay, so maybe it's slightly distorted because my oven is electric. So it's just my stove, my gas hob. So for 2 years, for a year, cooking for 4 people daily, like at least breakfast and dinner, maybe lunch at the weekends. Yeah. And it's so lovely to be taking a shower and getting hot water. I'm not cooking outside. I'm cooking in my yard. Um, yeah, to taking a hot shower. I love showers, right? And I still hear in the back of my head my dad yelling, "Zoe, get out of the shower! You're gonna finish the hot water." And knowing that the sun heats the water here, the hot water here is free. I don't pay any gas for my water to be heated. That's significant. So yes, accommodation here is expensive. Yes, food here is expensive, but on the flip side, energy prices here are a lot lower. And with all the madness that's going on in terms of energy, it is pretty awesome to be able to not spend a ton of money on just staying warm. To me, that's yeah, that's kind of priceless. That's kind of priceless. And Lee said that I did answer his question well. And tips from Rudy on food. Okay, bananas, mangoes, limes, and oranges. Yeah, that's about what I get. I mean, I get bananas for the kids. Mangoes when they're in season. Limes can also be hard to find. They say this, it's scarce. I love the phrase. Do you have any limes? No, lime's scarce. Lime's scarce. Lettuce scarce. It's all scarce, so we don't have. Is the refrain when looking for vegetables. But gas is really cheap, so you take your pick. And let me go back to the question for today. What is the most important factor you consider when choosing a destination abroad? For me, if I move abroad again, maybe vegetables. Access to fresh vegetables might be on there, but it's not the most important thing. Okay, Sonia asked a question about my collective, which is something that is in, out. Sonia asked, so Zoe, for your collective, I'm not planning to move until late 2024. Would that work for someone like me? I forget what year we're in already. We're almost in 2023. And it just depends on you really, Sonia. So just to explain, for those of you who've just joined, one of the things that I'm really keen to do is to harness all the energy and enthusiasm and curiosity and community that's building around the Exodus Collective as a YouTube channel, and find ways for folks to be able to connect in real life. Well, yeah, in real life and virtually as well, to make direct connections, because this is really lovely. Like, I really loved the fact that it's not just me on my own, but it's 38 of you, like some of you listening, some of you posting questions and having a conversation, or at least listening to me ramble and then nudging me to go somewhere else. So with the collective, I want that collective to be like an actual collection of people who are intent on moving, who are intent on making change. And you can be anywhere in your journey as long as you feel that you actually need practical advice, practical support, practical accountability to help you move forward. Because the last thing I want is to kind of just be wasting your time or to be putting a burden on you when you don't feel ready to actually action what's needed. So it really does depend. I mean, if you're someone who's got an 18-month timeline, and there's a lot that you need to put in place in order to be able to move, then yes, like a monthly accountability session, weekly Q&As for sure is something that would be useful for you. But if really you just need to save some money and you really know what it is that you want to do, then the collective is probably going to be overkill because it's more information than you need. It's more taking up more of your time than is useful. Um, so it's really designed for folks who need extra help, who need support, who have a lot of uncertainty, who have a lot of fear, who don't really know how to put things together. And for me to be able to give you guys support in a way that's not one-on-one. Because one of the things that has definitely happened this year, which is awesome, because can I show this to you? So earlier this year, I was on the front page, can you see it, of a newspaper in the UK, Brexit. So this was pretty massive in terms of confirming that I'm not just a nutcase talking about something that no one cares about, that actually is something that other people think is relevant to, and is worth attention. But the flip side of that is that it's resulted in a lot more inquiries, a lot more people wanting information, a lot more people wanting to check in with me when they're in Grenada. And in terms of manageability, in terms of time, like it's just not sustainable for me. And one of the priorities for me in 2023, and I'd love to hear about yours, is putting my own gas mask on first. That thing of trying to give from an empty cup just really isn't fun for anyone. Like, I want to make sure that when I'm showing up for you, I'm as energized and as informed and as abundant as possible. So to really streamline this like one-on-one stuff and actually us as a group work together so you can see how other people are learning, what other people's challenges are, what tips I've given to them, how you can implement them for you. That's the goal of the collective. So that's a really long-winded answer, Sonia. I hope it kind of answers you. If you want to have a chat with me directly, at the top of the comments, and I think in the description, I'm actually offering, as a little Christmas giveaway, one-on-one sessions, 30-minute one-on-one sessions where you can pay what you want. Pay what you want, pay what you can, however you want to call it. I just think so many of you are on the fence, need a bit of advice. And the advice that I give might be enough for you to just run off and do it. 30 minutes of just like hammering out the essentials could be enough for you to just be like, yeah, okay, this is where I go. This is what I do. This is who I need to speak to. And you just make the magic happen on your own. For some of you, you might need more advice and then the collective might be useful. But if you're uncertain, book a session with me. You can pay whatever you want. You can pay £1, you can pay £1,000, whatever you want. Somewhere in between will also work. Yeah, it's mainly just a way for me to connect with you and be able to help you, regardless of whether you want to join the collective or not. So if that's you or anyone else you know, please book. The link is at the top of the comments and in the bio. And those sessions will be available until early January, I think. Yeah, I was going to say something else, but I've forgotten. Oh, and Clover. Hello, Clover. Clover has relocated. I'm going to give a shout out to Clover. She's one of the people who was in the weekly cohort that we had at the start of the year. And it's lovely. It's lovely to see people. And Sonia says, don't say you're a bad mother. That's a bit harsh. It's Sonia. He hasn't turned up though. He hasn't turned up, and I'm on YouTube. That's, in terms of priorities, it's not really very good. Which is why this system of being a little bit more organized and being able to help who I need to help at the right time, that is my go-to for 2023. I'd love to know about what are your plans? What are your resolutions? I don't like resolutions, intentions. If anyone's got any interesting intentions for 2023, let me know. And yes, it is my Shan. Shan and I spoke this time last year, and we will talk. because I need to know. I need to know what's happening to you. I need to know when you're coming. Um, okay, Kathy. My husband and I are really looking forward to our trip for 5 weeks next month. Um, Kathy, where are you going to? Where is your trip to, and why are you looking forward to it? Um, I would love to know. I love it when this question love it, don't love it when this question comes up. How is the single life in Grenada? Um, I don't know if there's anyone else on this call who wants to answer for me. Um, but yeah, the single life in Grenada, it's really difficult to know how to answer this question. There are lots of single people in Grenada. There are lots of people who aren't single, but who will still be involved with you. Um, so that's one of the realities in Grenada. But yeah, no, it's really hard to answer that question. I'm not single though. I'm not single, so maybe I haven't really spent very long being single in Grenada either. But there are, in terms of the scene, there are definitely bars to go to where you can meet new people. What else? What else can I say? There is Tinder in Grenada. Yeah, I discovered that earlier this summer. There is Tinder, but I think I've said this somewhere else. When you go on it, you have to be really careful with your search parameters because the island is so small that quite often you will be whatever connect. I've only used it once. I don't really know the terminology, but you'll be connecting to people in Trinidad or St. Vincent, which is funny, which shows you like just like a 90-mile radius actually includes 3 separate nations. But yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend. Yeah, I, I don't know what to say. Caden, let me see if you've asked any follow-up questions to that, because that's such a general question that I could get myself in a lot of trouble if I tried to navigate that on my own. But yes, you can date in Grenada. There are some very beautiful men. There are some very beautiful women. Yeah, there are options. If you've got a more specific question, ask away. Okay, and I'm really behind on the Clover asked what I'm cooking on. I'm cooking on a hob. I've got an oven. The oven is electric and it's like a gas hob. Yeah, that's and I had a microwave. How much? Yeah. When you get here, tell me how much you end up spending on. I bet you won't spend more than me. I bet you won't even finish a tank. But yeah, a tank of gas. So pretty much everywhere, even in like the fanciest areas, your gas, you won't be connected to the mains. Your gas will be in a little tank, either, I forget the dimensions, but a small tank or a big tank. The small tanks are 40 EC and the big tanks are 330 EC. The big tanks are 3 times the size of a small tank, but for some reason, taxation, they cost way more than the small tanks. So if you're coming to Grenada, make sure you get the setup that allows you to have a small tank rather than a big tank if you want to save money. So that's my tip for today. Someone talking about the cost of, yeah, I think in 2021, I was paying around £250 a month for a 2-bedroom, really exceptionally tiny house. It's insane. I mean, it's not a ton of money, but it adds up, and it's nice not to spend that much. So I'm navigating through the comments. We have Sean saying hello to Clover. Sean and Clover were both on our weekly setups. Someone is laughing at my 80 EC. Yeah, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but yeah, it really is that cheap. I am just scrolling through some comments on growing food. This point from Jenny is really important. There are opportunities to get citizenship. So everyone should look into it for the country they want to move to. Yeah. And I specifically, whether folks move or not, in fact, can I ask all of you a favor? I would love it. I really want to grow the channel. I really feel like more people can benefit from this information. So if each one of you could send a link to one of the videos that you've liked to a friend or two and get them to subscribe and turn on notifications, and you guys subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't. I really want to spread the word about moving abroad and the Caribbean as a region specifically. So if you can share this link and get at least 2 more people to sign up, then we can grow. Maybe you can send it to even more than 2 people. Maybe you can share it with your family WhatsApp group. Because one of the things that really matters is it's not just about moving abroad. It's also for folks who are of Caribbean descent, making sure that you get on top of this citizenship thing. The number of conversations that I have with folks who could have been able to be based in the Caribbean really easily, but they don't have their citizenship set up. They don't have passports. You guys are so close and so far. And I'm sure those of you on this call don't fall into that category because you're switched on and tuned on. But if you know folks who could have access, like, it's so worth it. Like, I don't know if you stumbled across the channels on YouTube that are all about go where you're treated best, get your 2nd citizenship, get your 5th citizenship, set up this here, set up this here. That people are paying hundreds of thousands of pounds to get 2nd and 3rd and 4th citizenships because they know that it's really useful to have options, especially in times like these. So for those of us who have these options as our birthright, we really, really need to act on it. In Grenada, it's slightly not that straight. If your parent is of Grenadian descent, if your parent was born in Grenada, you are eligible to apply for citizenship, or you automatically gain citizenship, and you can apply for a passport. For the past 5 years or so, that hasn't been the case. They have made you apply for citizenship first and then apply for a passport. That's about to change. And I will definitely keep all of you in the Grenada camp posted as to when that information becomes publicly available. But for Jamaicans, you can apply for citizenship through your grandparents. For folks from St. Kitts and Nevis, you can apply through your grandparents. Through Barbados, you can apply through your grandparents, and I believe St. Vincent and the Grenadines too. So if you have the option to get this access for yourself, for your children, so that they can really easily have a tie to these destinations, I would urge you, beg you, please, please, please do it. Please do it, because the hassles that I see folks who don't have that option going through, of course, there are ways around it. And many of you on this call have absolutely no ties to the Caribbean, and you are still going to be there and you are still going to thrive. But for those of us who do have that option, I always fly the flag for getting citizenship while you can, because it's just, yeah, it's not something to be taken for granted, I would say. Okay. There's a comment here talking about growing food. Here we go. I can imagine those of us of Caribbean heritage are able to get citizenship, but like Barbados, you can only go as far back as your parents. I thought Barbados allowed you to apply through your grandparents, because that was one of the places that was really not pushing, but really smart about engaging its diaspora. So I will double check that, and I will put it in the comments if I've got it wrong. And I will send a link so that you know either way. But I think there are quite a few destinations that realize that their population is aging and a significant part of their population is emigrating. So they're taking active steps to encourage that link between the diaspora, to encourage others who have roots to maintain their citizenship. Grenada doesn't fall into that category. Maybe it might change with this current government, but we will see, and we will not hold our breath. But those of us who can do what we can will do it. Someone suggests there needs to be a Craigslist. Why does there need to be a Craigslist? I never use Craigslist. Yeah, there we go. This is what Sophie says. In Barbados, you can go back to your grandparents for citizenship. I got mine last year. Yeah. Well done, Sophie. Sophie, what was that process like? Do you want to let us know in the comments? Advice on going to Carriacou. Advice on settling in Carriacou. Yeah, what sort of advice and in what area? Like where to live, like the cost of living, how you'll earn your income. What specific advice do you need? I haven't been to it. This is one of the things I need to do in 2023 is spend more time in Carriacou. Okay, on shipping, I would like to know how much it will cost me to ship and how much I will be charged at the port. What is the starting price? I think it depends what you're going to ship. They typically charge you per cubic meter. The rate per cubic meter changes regularly, I guess, depending on the cost of fuel. If you're shipping from the UK, I use West Indies freight. So quite often you'll find small people who will like pick up a barrel or pack your stuff for you. But essentially, the place that they all take it to is a depot in Essex that's owned by West Indies Freight. So you could either deal with a middleman or you can deal with them direct. So I would suggest calling them to get a cost, a sense of what the cost of shipping is. And then on top of shipping, you have duties, customs charges. So I would do what you could to research the likely customs charges for whatever items that you're shipping. So it will depend whether the item is new or is used. The rates for clothes might be different for electrical goods, construction materials. Each country will have its own log of the rates that it charges for the items being shipped. So that's the things to factor in: the cost of shipping, which is charged per cubic meter in freights like sea freight, and the charges that will be levied upon arrival when you want to clear your goods. I don't know which specific country you're shipping from or to, but those would be the questions to answer. Yes, Clover has made it to Canada and is on her way to Grenada, which is awesome. And Sean says, well done. More applause and more applause. It's looking great. I love it. The crew is here. Kathy, whose husband John was interviewed by me earlier. Was it this month or last month? And actually, it is now in like one of the top 10 videos of 2022, even though it came out less than a month ago. So let him know that. Let him know that, yeah, Grenadians love his interview. And I think he's also inspiring others who are thinking about moving to show that it can be done. John and I will be in 2 weeks, and he will not tell me. And then 3 weeks in St. George's. Need to be there to see where we would like to live. Yeah, for sure. And I think this is John and Kathy. If you are thinking about moving, watch John's interview. I wish I could find it. Let me see if I can find it. I can't talk and type at the same time. I'll have to put it in afterwards. But his interview really is like an expert guide to how to relocate. I like the level of detail that they've gone into researching, documenting everything, doing multiple trips to test out various different aspects of what their life here will be like. And now they're coming back to refine where they want to be based. And I think that's fantastic. And before I forget, and for all of you who are part of the weekly sessions beforehand, I will be hosting monthly get-togethers in person in Grenada. I'm looking at Mongazo, which is in St. David's, but it's a really gorgeous venue. And I think, yeah, it'll just be the perfect place, because one of the things I really want, I think it's important to support local Grenadian businesses. I think where we spend our money is really important. And as nice as Silver Sands is, I think there are other folks who could do with our support more. So yeah, weekly meetups in person that will be happening. I'm back in Grenada early January, so I'll send out details of that then. And yeah, it's just great to kind of see the original crew still lingering around, and I love the thought of us meeting in person and more of you who happen to be coming to Grenada. Connecting with us in person. And for those of you who are interested in other areas, the Excellence Collective online membership group is coming soon. I sort of trial launched it. There'll be more information coming soon, but it'll be a really small group, as I was saying before, where we can meet on a weekly basis, where you can get the direct support from me that you need. Whether it's advice on changing your career so that it can work remotely, finding the ideal destination, likely cost of living, finding community, just really ironing out the stumbling blocks that so many people experience. We've got more I think Barbados and Grenada this week seem to be the most popular destinations. And do you know what? I think I figured out how this works. I figured that you guys are seeing this in a stream, and then I'm selecting it and putting it on screen. So now you're seeing for the whole time. You've known how behind I've been. So anyhow, at least I figured it out for next time, and thank you for your patience. Okay, this is an interesting one. Let me read through this. Okay, importing stuff and messages from Clover. Yeah, Sean, Clover, we have to catch up. This is a question. Is online teaching the most common job on offer? Most common. I don't necessarily know if I would say it's the most common. Probably the easiest to get into, I would say. I think tech jobs are probably the most prevalent remote jobs. I think more and more companies are choosing to go remote first or remote only just because it saves them so much money. And tech typically is a sector where you're not required to be in the office. Excuse me. Yeah, online teaching is quite easy to come by in different forms, whether you're working directly for a company or whether you're working for one of the platforms that allows you to offer your services direct to students. I know I spoke about teaching English online to folks in China, but another option is a really cool site called OutSchool. Let me put that in here. Outschool.com. That platform allows you to set your own prices, and you can literally teach anything from kids aged 5 to 18. So I would definitely check that out if you are thinking about teaching online. And yeah, this is the one. Oh, Nomad Capitalist. Yes. Yep. Rose is saying it's harder for those who are not of Caribbean descent to freely move and live in the Caribbean. Yeah, it is harder. It's not impossible, but it's definitely harder. And some suggestions of areas that are good areas to tap into if you're looking to establish yourself in the region. And I think, as I mentioned before, yes, there is the digital nomad visas that are available in Antigua, Dominica, Barbados, Montserrat, Cayman Islands, the Bahamas, Bermuda, not available in Jamaica, not available in St. Kitts and Nevis, not available in Grenada. But if you are looking for other ways to be able to be based in these islands, and you know that you're likely to be there longer term, residency by investment, which is a very different process from citizenship by investment, is an area to explore. And as Green Spirit Eco Tours suggests, some of these areas are very much sought after, very much championed by government, very much areas in which it's likely that they'll give you concessions if you need to import materials because their priority areas, just because the region is so affected by climate change. So some great tips as to as to what to consider when relocating or thinking about setting up a business if you are that way inclined. Kathy and John arrive on the 16th. Okay. I need to message you all and find out when you're all here so I can make sure to do stuff at the same time. And this is Sophia talking through the process of getting citizenship in Barbados. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm actually beginning to lose my voice, and we've been on for an hour and a half, and I'm touched that you came to join me. 38 people. It's a lovely start. As I said, if anyone wants to have a one-on-one conversation, please do use the link below to book a call with me. I am pay what you want. I understand what it's like to not have that much money in the bank, or to be flush with cash and want to be able to get rid of it. Either end of the spectrum. Don't let money prevent you from talking to me. If you want to have a chat, please go ahead and book. And yeah, it'll be a 30-second, really running out of words here, 30-minute session where we can talk through the fundamentals of your move abroad, or if there are specific areas that you need help on. Drop me a line. And if you found this useful or entertaining or whatever, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to share this with at least 2 or 3 people who you think will benefit from understanding that the Exodus Collective is there, understanding that folks like us are making moves and thriving, because I think the way things are going, more people need to know that this is an option. So I would love your help in spreading the word. Thanks. Someone recommending the idea that, where we spend our money does matter. Okay, so this is specific to Barbados. You shouldn't have to pay anything on your goods if you're moving to Barbados as a retiree with your pension. Okay, that is really good to know. In Grenada, there are concessions available for returning nationals. So that is another reason to make sure that you've got your citizenship sorted out when you move back. So that is good to know. Now chat show. Hello. It's great to see you. Sorry for my delayed pinning of your message. We spoke earlier this year, didn't we? And it was great. I was joined by a lady from St. Vincent in the Grenadines, who is also someone you should definitely get to know. But yeah, this year has been a lot of podcast interviews. In a way, podcast is great because you don't have to be in front of the camera. But yeah, again, just all help spreading the word. Well, spreading the word, letting more people know that this is an option. Rosa asks if she would be considered as a returning national. Wait, where are you? Okay, I think Sophie has answered your question, but I'm sure you could also just call and double check. And that's it. We are at almost past. I believe I've come to the end of questions. If you have anything that you want to ask me, quickly do so now. I'm going to have to go and make I've got a really big apology to this mum. And yeah, I look forward to 2023 being a lot smoother, being fully present, to connect with you folks who want to make moves directly in our collective, to be able to really expand the conversation on what moving abroad can look like, what finding purpose can look like. I know I've said it so many times, I'm almost embarrassed to say it again, but I do think it's highly probable that the Exodus Collective is going to split into a general moving abroad, finding purpose channel and a specific Grenada channel, because I just think there's a lot, I'd like to go a lot deeper into Grenada, and I know a lot of folks just really don't care about Grenada. And I think it's important to respect your time and to make sure that the right information goes to the right people. But yeah, thank you all so much for showing up and making sure that I wasn't just talking to myself for a full 90 minutes. I've really loved having you here, and I've loved all of your support along the way, all of you. Your messages, your likes, your thumbs ups, your suggestions are highly appreciated. And yeah, the Exodus Collective wouldn't be much of a collective if it was just me. So it's about all of us. And yeah, I just hope that we can keep on supporting each other. Wish all of you the best for 2023 and look forward to the awesome things that you're going to achieve. And yeah, let's keep in touch. And thank you, Clover, the first and last live of 2022. Thank you so much. And I will see you soon, and make sure to book a call if there's any way in which I can help you. Sending you all much love. Please share this, please like, and we will be back in touch in the new year. Take care. Bye.